All right. I am so excited to introduce Aimee Goodwin, certified life coach and emotional resilience trainer with years of experience helping individuals navigate life's challenges. Aimee empowers others to build emotional strength and find lasting happiness. Her unique approach integrates both practical tools and the emotional insight, which I think is such a big deal, making her an ideal guide for anyone seeking transformation. Aimee's work has inspired many to embrace resilience and thrive in their personal and in their professional lives. Welcome, Aimee. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. This word resilience has been my word of the year a few times over, and a part of my membership's word that always comes up. So we have a lot to unpack around that today. But I thought it would be an interesting thing to start with. I want to go into your life story, but I also want to start with this whole idea of emotional resilience. When someone hears that, thinking of what does that actually mean? What does it mean to you? How have you seen that show up in your real life?
Well, great question. I think especially the emotional resilience part of my life, it was taught to me. And
Mhm.
honestly, from a really young age, I had things to overcome. And I think I really started to get a good grasp on what emotional resilience was while I was going through grief with losing our daughter. And then again, I had chronic illness. I had chronic Lyme disease. And just this has been a requirement in my life to have that choice to figure out how to move forward powerfully or to crumble. And that's, I think, what resilience is. Resilience is having tools in your toolbox that keep you moving when all you want to do is crumble. And some people have these things naturally. I was taught those things. I had to learn those things. But we all know somebody in our life who just seems so resilient and has the natural ability to never let anything knock them down. And even scientists have studied that, like what makes people resilient. And there's many tools, many things, many mindset tools, many keep going, take care of myself, breathe, perspective, all of those things. The beautiful thing about resilience and emotional resilience is that it can be taught. And if you doubt that, you can put it into a Google search engine and look at the millions of classes that teach emotional resilience. It
Yes.
can be taught. So even if there's something that you feel like, well, I'm just not great at this, or I'm not great at that, or I'm really struggling with this, or I'm really having a hard time getting off the ground after this. I need to find somebody who can teach me this because it can be taught. For me, one of the tools that I think is a spiritual gift is I have this insane ability to hold on to hope that things are going to get better.
Mm.
And even when I didn't know for sure that things were going to get better or that I was going to survive, I always had this tiny piece of hope that I would. And I believe everybody has little spiritual gifts that help particular trials and struggles. And for me, I would say a base of that is just having the hope that things will improve. And now that I'm 50 years old and have lived life for a while, I have learned and realized that things will improve, that situations do pass, no matter how dark they are. And that tiny piece alone gives you the courage to be resilient.
Ah, there's so many good nuggets in this. And I'm like, where do I start with you? Okay, I do think let's loop our listeners in on, like you said, there's kind of two huge components to your story of losing a child, and I'm so sorry. And there's this Lyme disease component of you were diagnosed or not diagnosed and living in hardship until you continued to beat down doors and figure this out. Can you give us the span in which that happened? Because to a listener, I think they can be like, when you see somebody on the other side of hardship, it's like watching somebody else go through a pregnancy. You're like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Right.
But when you're the one living it, you're like, oh no, that felt like 9 months, like that was real. It was drawn out. You lived in hard for a really long time.
Yeah, well, just to the beginning of my story, I was done having my children. So I just had son probably a year before this happened. And I knew I was done having children. And so I was really in that mode that all women go through. Like, we're like, oh, I'm going to get my body back. I get my life. And
Mhm.
so I was actually doing really great. I was at the gym 4 days a week. I was feeling really good and strong. And I went from feeling very good and strong to being so sick I had to cancel my gym membership in 3 months' time. And so I started with just a little tremor after my gym one day. I was at the gym one evening and I had a little tremor in a muscle from my knee to my ankle. And from there, I got this symptom of it was a neuropathy. It was like a buzzing sensation. It started in my feet and it went clear up to my skull. It was in my organs. It's a very common neuropathy in Lyme. I've heard of it several times since then, but at the time, no doctor, no medication could touch that. And that stuck with me for 5 years until I started treating Lyme. And that just accompanied soon after that pain, terrible joint pain, terrible nerve pain, became super sensitive to sounds and to light. I wore sunglasses everywhere I went. My friends used to tease me that I was incognito, but it really was because the sun, the lights hurt my eyes.
Yes.
So that's how I lived my life for 5 years. I went to several doctors. I went to several specialists. I was tested for things like MS, Lou Gehrig's, those kind of scary diagnoses, but nobody could ever diagnose me and nobody could help me with what was going on. So I ended up in pain management, and that's how I survived for 5 years. And if you believe in coincidences, which I no longer do in my life, my mom was a nurse. She was on her way to work one day. She heard somebody on the radio advocating for, at the time, it was a new documentary, Under Our Skin. And she called me out of breath, just, Aimee, you got to check this out. You got to go to this website. You got to do this. And I wasn't that excited because I'd seen so many doctors and had so many people tell me I was crazy or drug seeking or whatever it was they thought I was doing. But she said at the very end of her call, she said, Aimee, these are your people. And I didn't know anyone else like me. I didn't know anybody whose life had been affected like mine. I didn't know anybody in pain like I was. And so that phrase really got me. These are your people. So back in those days, we didn't have our phones. I had to go to my office, to my computer, get on my search engine,
Oh, yes.
And I looked up Under Our Skin and I spent the next 2 hours just lost in the world of Lyme disease. And I knew that mom was right, that these were my people and this was what was wrong with me. So it took me a while to get my diagnosis after that and to flying to California. I saw a doctor there named Dr. Stephen Harris. He without doubt saved my life. By the time I got to see him, I was dragging a leg when I walked. I was not able to carry a gallon of milk because I couldn't squeeze. I'm a singer and I couldn't sing anymore because I couldn't control the muscles in my throat. I was very affected, muscular and nerve-wise by Lyme. And so he saved my life. I treated with him for 2 years. I always tell people what I'm doing now was really born out of frustration because I got very involved in the Lyme world and the Lyme community after that, trying to help people get help like I did.
Yes.
And working with so many people who just didn't have the resources they needed. So finally, I was like, we need to create a place where people in Lyme have the resources that they need to get better. And so that's what we've done here at New Hope. Through that, I found life coaching. And through that, I took a Stanford University course. It all just like this was the path.
Yes. You're like,
And
seriously?
it,
I had to go
yeah,
through this to get to what I needed and wanted to be doing?
right, exactly. So,
Uh,
yeah, going back to that resilience, like there's nothing harder than chronic illness and helping
we
people get through something like that. It's difficult. Chronic health issues and chronic mental health issues can be so debilitating.
Oh my goodness. And it takes us back to there's two buzzwords that you were using. So the idea that you had hope naturally built into you, resilience naturally built into you. Because I look at these as spectrums as well. For any listeners listening and going, I'm at this end. I have zero hope and I have zero resilience. Aimee is telling you we can build on that. We can practice that. We can put in the reps and we can get to another side of that. And I think that that's like, please hear us when we're saying that because if you don't have hope, that's very hard to grasp that I can just do some work and get to a next level of this. And again, you saying this was maybe like a God's talent that it was there for you. I agree with that because I think even just hearing your mom get super excited about something when some individuals are at the point of the hope is lost, to go put in the time and effort to do the research,
Mhm.
it's very hard to get to that, you know, where you like
Mhm.
still had that, like, I'll just do it. I'm going to give one more thing a try, one more thing a try. So thank you for that
Yes.
story, just so that other
Yeah.
people can really hear. It wasn't a flip of the switch. It wasn't easy. And I think, and you said it somewhere else, but like even once you had the diagnosis, even once you had the right path, it still wasn't fast and easy.
It was hard. Lyme treatment is hard. I liken it to like cancer treatment. Like it's not an easy treatment. It's hard mentally, it's hard physically. And to go back to the hope, I think there's a misconception with hope too. I think people think like, oh, I have hope that everything's gonna be well and perfect, and I'm just gonna walk into hope and just be, and it's not. In fact, honestly, sometimes hope is just the tiniest bit of light in the darkest night.
Mhm.
It's sometimes just the tiniest light.
Mm,
And all you have to do is nurture that a little bit and follow that a little bit until it gets better, and that can carry you. You know, it's not
mm,
love and light because I have hope. It's no, it's still hard.
mhm,
But I
mhm,
just have a little focus on this might work out.
mhm. I liken that to a little bit of like the toxic positivity versus
Hmm.
positivity. Like there's a difference, right? There, and that's
Hmm.
the same thing with hope. There's a different kind of meaning behind it, the way you just described it. And
Hmm.
I think that's important because I think when somebody's in a lower spot, we don't necessarily need the raw piece. We don't need we just need somebody to say, I hear you, I see you, I want to help, or I want to support you. Like that is
Yes.
enough. I think you walked into a doctor's office and wanted to get tested, and they told you that you were full of it, right? Did
Hmm.
they think your test was not even medicine worthy?
I had a doctor where I had my diagnosis. I was looking for somebody to do a pick line for me,
Yeah.
and they were just mocked me even. They're like, this isn't even a real thing. This isn't a real diagnosis. And who's this doctor? Have you ever seen this doctor? And I'm like, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, I mean that doesn't happen so much anymore. There's more awareness for Lyme now, but back in the day, that was very common. I had a doctor once tell me that Lyme disease did not exist, that this was all in my head and that I was just drug seeking and that Lyme disease didn't exist. And I stood up and said, as long as you think that, people will continue to suffer. And I
Mm,
walked out of the office.
good for
But
you.
it's a challenging diagnosis, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
That's when we say emotional resilience, I think of that with that doctor's visit and with other individuals who have had similar, where they're like really trying to finally stand up for themselves.
Mhm.
And somebody, a physician who has the authority to make us feel smaller, does, and like how quickly can we recover from that and get right back on
Mhm.
track? It's frustrating, but thank you for being on here and speaking over this today because, again, it gives us like there are instances where we have to just go, I know best. I know I'm not the physician in this, but I'm sorry, I know more than you do.
That's been a lesson that has carried on through my life. I learned that lesson in Lyme to advocate for yourself. But there was a time, and maybe our parents or their parents' parents, where doctors were authorities. They were trusted and they were authorities. But doctors are different now. They all have their own specialties and they're so busy and they're ruled by insurance companies. You have to advocate for yourself. I truly believe that if you don't advocate for yourself, you are in harm's way. And I've seen that again in hormones now as I'm going through
I was
perimenopause.
just gonna say that.
Yes, I
Yes.
have seen that in so many other ways with mental health as well as a coach. It's so important to be able to advocate for yourself.
Yes, I'm going to keep going with this if you don't mind. I know this is our session, but like this is good for our listeners to hear because thank you for bringing up hormones. Our
Mhm.
community has really gotten on board with some preventative health measures and getting in with the right facilities. And then how quickly you can walk into your regular OBGYN and again walk away feeling like, oh my gosh, am I doing something dangerous for my body? And then like have to be talked off the ledge again and reminded of your research and reminded like so that's one spot in the doing more harm than good. I feel like if we don't know to hit pause for a second before we take a statin, like hang on, let's talk cholesterol on different levels, or hang on, let's
Yes.
talk some of those bone density medications before we jump on a medication. Let's talk some other areas that like if we're our own advocate, like we can stay off some pretty scary medications. Sometimes we need them, but sometimes we don't. And
Yeah, I
so,
have a great example of that. So I went out to lunch with some friends. We all graduated together, so we're all about the same age. So we were out to dinner
mm,
actually, and we were all talking about our hormones because that's where right now in our
I felt
lives.
her.
And one of our friends was like, "But I do HRT, I do hormone therapy." And she hasn't done any of that. And she's suffering terribly with hot flashes and depression and all of these things that happen to us when our hormones deplete. And I was like, "So have you been to your doctor?" And she's like, "Yeah, I went to my doctor and they started me on this medication that I hadn't heard of." And I'm like, "Well, what is that for?" And she said, "Oh, well, it's an antidepressant, but it's supposed to help the hot flashes." I'm like, "What now?" I'm like, "Well, are you depressed?" And she's like, "No, I'm not depressed. I hate these hot flashes." And I'm like, "Okay." And we had a
Okay.
long conversation after that. It's another just perfect example of, okay,
Yes.
well, advocate for for yourself and don't put me on meds I don't need to be on. Help me with what's going on with my body,
Yes,
please.
this is where I love podcasting world because even through our conversation where somebody can just be a fly on the wall and be like, I've been in that scenario or I am in that scenario right now. And I love being able to dump different podcasts of those experts talking on hormone replacement therapy so that we don't have to be the one that you don't have to believe me. Just start listening. Just start like gathering your own research because
Mhm.
this is the other piece that I have found. The individual has to be very on board, right? Like you can't walk somebody into a hormone clinic who hasn't done the research
Mhm.
and have them, they shouldn't be on board yet. They haven't researched it,
Right,
they don't understand it, they can get
right.
scared with it, blah, blah. But like,
Mhm.
I love the layering in of the talks and the research and the different
Yeah.
professionals who are all out there. It's just hard to gather them sometimes. Like,
They
so.
are all out there.
Mm,
And I think an important thing to remember too is something I talk about in
mm,
coaching all the time is our bodies are the best experiment. Go with drink a gallon of water for a week and see how you feel. So
mm,
I always say there's a lot of experts out in the world, but I am an expert on me. I am the expert and I know what I need. I know what my body needs. I know how I feel about what I might need. And so my biggest advice always is never to forget that and to advocate for that. I'm reaching out to you because I don't know about this, but I know about this. So how can we make this work together for
right.
this?
And don't you feel like anytime you've pulled in, asked for help, gathered resources, you just expedite your process? It
Absolutely.
gets you there faster. Yeah, which is
Absolutely.
refreshing. Okay, I'm going to annoy our audience today with this word resilience, resilience, resilience. When you think about the average woman navigating life, let's say family, work, health, all of it, where do you see resilience being the most tested for individuals?
Oh, I love that question. I would say for the average woman, here's what's happening to us. And I see this in my practice. I'm sure you see it in yours. Life is so busy and we're expected to do everything. Nothing's changed with what the expectations are on women, but there's a lot that has changed with the world. And right, so everything has changed as far as what's expected of us. We're supposed to do this, blah, blah, blah. But nothing's changed with our needs, is how I should probably say that. But what happens is our needs get put to the very bottom because we have all of these other expectations that are more important that we have to meet. I would say the hardest challenge to resilience right now is women just pausing for themselves and meeting their own needs and asking, how am I doing today? What do I need for myself? Where can I carve time out for me today? And I am 100% disclosure. Like I am a business owner, I'm a coach, I'm a nana, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. I get it. So like I'm not up here on a soapbox who's like
Mm.
this. No, like I'm in it and I live it. And even though I have all these amazing tools for resilience and I coach these things, I struggle with that sometimes. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge in resilience is being brave enough to pull yourself out and be like, no, this has to come first so that I can do all of these things better. But if this isn't okay, if I am not okay, then this is all going to collapse when I collapse. And I will collapse. Like my office is full of women who collapse because it's too much and they don't know how to take care of themselves.
That's such a great answer. And it feels so simple. Check in with yourself. How are you doing?
Mhm.
Right. But to
Mhm.
your point, unless we've again been taught that or role modeled that throughout life, it does not come easy.
Mhm.
Especially, I keep throwing out the word high achieving women, but women who are, I've always just gutted through it. I've always picked myself up by the bootstraps and pressed on like
Mhm.
that. It feels very uncomfortable to slow down, to sit back and
Yeah.
relax, snap, ask
Yeah.
questions. It goes
Yeah.
against the grain. Yeah.
Yeah. To just sit
Thank
with
you.
it.
Yes.
Like
Mm,
sit with it.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Hmm.
I love to nap, but I'm still going to say like one of the hardest things I've implemented recently is a quick 20-minute nap. And it has
Hmm.
been like the most soul resetting that I think I've been able to do for myself. That in between the work hour and then the sports all start in the evening used to be like a really big, like I'm grabbing food to refuel. And at some point, It was like, I'm not hungry. I'm tired. And I know I still have a
Hmm.
second half of the day to go. And I love to hear other people's resets.
I love to just have people pause and ask the question, what am I really feeling right now? Like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling super anxious. I'm so stressed out. Take a pause. What are you really feeling right now? Are you hungry?
Mhm.
Are you thirsty? Are you tired? If I'm tired, I'm a monster. I fully admit that. My husband will literally say to me, you need to go take a nap.
Yeah, go to
And
bed.
I'll be like, you're right. And then I'll wake up from my nap and I'll be like, oh, I wasn't a terrible person. I was just tired. So, like,
All-
what is it that I really need? And then do that. What is it that I'm really
Mhm.
needing?
But that's a skill set too. And I think that's a beautiful part of coaching. And I'm sure you do that with your clients. Keep digging there, keep practicing.
Yep, exactly.
That's me too, girl. I am like, I can tell when I need a nap. I'm nasty. Okay, let's pull this into weight loss journey perspective for a second. So, in your experience, how does emotional resilience or lack thereof of it show up in someone's weight loss or their health journey? The most that you can see, like whether that's a personal experience or a client experience.
Oh my gosh, both girl. Like I'm somebody who has struggled with my weight since I started having children and yes, again, my practice is full. And a lot of it I think goes back to what we were just talking about. Self on schedule. It takes time to be healthy. It takes time to eat healthy. It takes time to plan menus. It takes time to go to the gym, right? And hormones and all of that goes into health. I started losing weight so much easier once my hormones were balanced. That was a huge part of it for me. And making sure your body, it's not just about having emotional resource, it's about making sure your body has the correct resource, making sure if you need to work with somebody, you're working with the right person, or if there's tools out there for you, how can I help my body with this? And I think in weight loss, especially for me, it was such a journey to learn to love myself even overweight. That was, society tells us we can't do that.
Mhm.
And once you then can look at your body with love, even when it's not perfect, then you want to nurture your body and you want to help your body more and you want to do what's better for your body. And you can show your body grace instead of beating it up all the time. You cannot beat yourself into positive change. It is not going to happen. So for me, all those pieces work together.
Yes, you can't hate yourself into change. Talk about that a lot. Yeah, one of the ways I think about that of what you're saying is we're both moms. What we do for our kids and how we set them up for success. We cut up their vegetables and their fruits, right? We pack them a lunch. We put them to bed. We get to do that for ourselves if we love on ourselves. But
Mhm.
it's hard to do that if we're super negative with ourselves. So it's just like it's an
Yeah.
interesting reframing of mindset
Mhm.
to be like, what would that look like if I mothered myself, loved myself? It looked different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so
Mhm.
different. I had an experience one time. I've had a few things, with Lyme, it was very physical for me. I also have double hip dysplasia. So within the last, well, I think 3 years ago now, I had two hip replacements, so
Wow.
been a lot of physical challenge for me.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what it was. I think I had been to a doctor's appointment. That's what it was. And I'd been on the scale, and it's just always the dreaded scale. I swear, you always weigh more at the doctor too. I don't
Yes. Yes.
what they're doing with their scales. But anyway, I was just feeling really negative about myself after that. And it's just not something I allow myself to do anymore. That's been a journey in itself for me. But
Mm.
I just don't allow myself to be negative to my body anymore. It's just, I always just say it's not what I do. But I was having a moment of negativity because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been going to the gym 4 days a week and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm just struggling. And this was before my hormone stuff started and weight was harder to lose. And I just had this weird connection. And I think it's because I don't do that. I don't allow myself to do it anymore that this was able to occur. But I literally had an experience where I felt my body say to me, we just need a little grace.
Mm.
Like my body is we. We're doing the best that we can for you right now. And we've
Yeah.
had a hard year. That's true.
Okay.
We've had two hip surgeries this year. We've had a lot
Yes.
going on. And I was able to just sort of look at that and see it very clearly and be like, okay, my body just needs some grace and love. And you know what? I deserve that. And
Yeah.
once I made that connection, it was so powerful that I love this body. This body has done so many things. It's given me 5 babies. It's done so many powerful things for me. It's carried me every step I've taken. It's helped me garden. It's taken me through surgeries. You know what? I can take care of my body without
Mhm.
hating my body. And that
Mhm.
just went a lot smoother.
So good. Oh, so many children. Oh, it's like you're describing, I could almost cry. You're describing when and if your clients say at some point, it's like you've done it. If we can get to that point, that's like the health journey. That's the ultimate success because it's so hard to get there. And I had
Mhm.
questions for you in that because for you to be able to say, I just don't do that anymore. What was that piece of the journey like for you, or the practicing piece of how do you just not do that anymore? How do you just accept a scale weight or not let that derail you or not let that bring you down 5 notches? Because I'm guessing there's like a skill set in that for you.
Yes. So for me, it was all about the root of things. So for me, it was about the root of the critic. We all have a critic. I've never met anybody who doesn't. We all have this critic inside of us, where it comes from, a parent, a teacher, a sibling, an adult, somewhere along the way. And then other examples in our life. Like I loved how you said that wasn't modeled to us. Loving my body wasn't modeled to me. It wasn't modeled to my mom either, I don't think. So having this really harsh inner critic because of some other things in my childhood was very, very prominent for me for a long time in my life. But for me, when I got to the point where I was discovering that, like through self-discovery, through coaching, I learned where the root of that critic came from. And I was like, oh, no, you're done. You're done. That actually is not me hating myself. That's a belief that I have about myself that came from somewhere else.
Mm,
And once I made that connection, the
mm,
self-worth in me just blossomed
mm,
because until then, my worth was connected to this critic. But once I learned the root of that, I instantly shut down that critic. And so it took practice, as you know, right? Like things
mm,
take practice. And it did take me some practice where I might in the past have looked in the mirror and been like, oh my gosh, you cannot wear those pants today. You cannot wear that shirt today. And now I can look in the mirror and be like, no, it's better than it used to be. And I can walk out the door. I just don't
mm,
allow it. And once you know that, I found that in my practice to be so powerful that once we know the root of things, once you realize, oh, that's a belief that was given to me, that's not who I am,
mm,
you can separate that and be like, oh, I don't do that anymore. That's not what I do anymore. So when that little whisper comes in, it's like, no, I don't do that anymore. And that becomes a very powerful boundary. This
it
is
is
my
a boundary.
boundary. I know that you're around because you're an old belief, but you just don't get to rule how I love myself anymore. It's just a very powerful step forward when you're like, no, I know where this comes from.
Yeah, there's a ton of taking your power back in everything you just said, which
Mhm.
is amazing. Strengthening in every woman who ends up doing that consistently over time. Like here comes the confidence, right? Here comes a little more joy. But I
Mhm.
also like that you acknowledge the fact that again, it's not that the belief system goes away.
No.
You can almost like say, thank you. I understand that you served me. Thanks for being here.
Mhm.
And then, but I'm not going to listen to you today.
Mhm.
And I think that's really practiced as well. I think it's hard, that boundary, that word, I love that. That boundary is a hard one to hold when we're so used
Mhm.
to going down the negative path.
Mhm.
That to just be like, I see you, I hear you, and no thank you is
Yes.
is something.
Yeah. It is
Yeah.
powerful, but again, it's the root of it that helps. It's the root.
Hmm.
When you know that those beliefs come from negative places, I don't move through the world like that anymore. I just don't do that anymore.
Talk to us on that a little bit because what you're describing is that you transformed. You're no longer the old Aimee.
Mhm.
You've changed, you've grown, you've probably outgrown maybe some people or other things in your life. How has that all kind of manifested throughout life for you?
Yeah, growth can be hard too. We think growth is going to be just some aha, amazing and magnificent. And it is on some level, but it can be hard too. People do drop out of your life and experiences have less value than they used to have when you're seeing things a little bit differently or more value. So it's an evolving process. I was talking with my own coach because I do coach. I have my own coach as well. I just feel like that's important for people in our field. And I was struggling with something that I had not struggled with for a really long time. And I said to her, why am I struggling with this? I feel like I put this to rest a long time ago. And she's like, this is your life's work. Our lives and how we evolve, our healing, it's a life's work. It's not something we
Mhm.
just do and never look at again. They might be reference lessons, right? Where we look back and be like, oh yeah, and oh yeah, I don't, and oh yes, I recognize this feeling in myself. It can be a reference then. It's a constant evolving. For me, it's a lot about personal boundaries. Like I'm a huge believer that we can control our minds. We can control where our minds go. And so, for example, after all my surgeries, when I started going back to the gym again, because I working out is a huge mental health connection for me. It's important for me to work out to just feel better. And so, but I was headed back to the gym. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so hard. The only time I could do it because of my schedule was early in the morning. I am not a morning person at all. But that was the only time that would work for me. And so I was like, okay, so I'm doing this early in the morning. I'm getting up. And my phrase for that was when my alarm would go off in the morning and I desperately wanted to just call and cancel my gym appointment, I would
Yes.
say, no, I am someone who takes care of themselves now. And that is a tool that I find to be very powerful in resilience because so many people you talk to are like, I'm going to be better at this someday, or baby steps. I hate that phrase in coaching. Because I'm like, no, it's not baby steps until I get there. It's this is where I'm going and this is how I live now. And it might not look perfect
Mhm.
because I'm practicing, right? I'm practicing a different life and that's going to look differently. And I might struggle with it, but I am somebody who takes care of themselves now. And so I am going to get up and go to the gym in the morning. And I probably had to say that phrase every morning for a year.
Until you believed it,
Until
right?
I believed
Until it
it.
was
But and
natural.
now when my alarm goes off, I just get up and go to the gym because I'm somebody who takes care of themselves. But
Hmm.
it was a matter of saying, this is how my life direction needs to change. This is the boundary. This is my self boundary, saying I'm not going to allow excuses. I'm not going to allow myself to self-sabotage. This is what I do now because I take care of myself now. Not baby steps till I take care of myself.
Hmm.
I'm taking care of myself now.
Hmm. That's interesting. Yes. I feel like you embodied the identity you were going after. Because I'm like, did I already even use that phrase, baby steps, in our interview? Maybe.
Today,
Because
no, you didn't.
because I do believe in the little by, a little becomes a lot,
Yes, in some
you
situations,
know.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can
But it
hear,
can also be a phrase of self-sabotage too. It can,
yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
this with myself and with clients. It can be an excuse to be like, I'm not going to do that
right. I'm just
yet.
not there yet. This is good. I love it.
Mhm.
I feel like you have a book. I don't want to miss on all this too. Like if listeners are hearing and going, I really like Aimee. I could use some more of her in my ears. What are the best places to come find you and all of your resources that you offer?
So yeah, I do. I have all the socials. So I have an Instagram, I have TikTok, I have Facebook, I have a website, coachamej.com. And all of my socials are just Coach Aimee Goodwin on everything. So I'm really easy to find. If you're looking for me for Lyme, it's New Hope Wellness here in Minnesota. And we have lyme-hope.org. That's our website too. I'm pretty easy to find. Google me. I also have
Okay.
my book that I released. It's been almost a year to the day that it came live, and it's been a really wonderful thing. I wrote this book to try to just reach a broader audience as far as just basic, and that's what it is. Like I've read so many self-help books, and I really just wanted a book that people could take and just use it. Like,
Mhm.
oh, she teaches me how to breathe here to control my anxiety, and or she teaches me how to be here and now, or here's how I go through the process of self-reflection without being negative to myself. And it just
Mm.
super easy skills and tools for resilience because they aren't really taught anymore in the age of phones and computers, and we just are losing that ability to naturally do some of the things we need to do to calm ourselves down. At the same time, we're living in this incredibly stressful world. Like I saw a statistic not long ago that said 70% of people are living in fight or flight, and I was like, what? Fight or
70.
flight is for I'm dying and I need to save my life. That is not
Mhm.
an everyday time or position that we want to be living in. And
Mhm.
so no wonder we have the highest numbers of anxiety. No wonder we have the highest numbers for depression and overwhelm because we are not meant to live in fight or flight. That is not how it's supposed to be. And the mountains we climb is a little manuscript of how you can build little steps of emotional resilience to get over the mountains in your life. And so
Mm.
yeah, I had a great time writing that. I loved it. It's been doing really well. It won 2 awards. So
Mhm.
I just think that speaks to the need of it. People need help just settling in and learning some resilience.
I totally agree. And I love that you have a tangible takeaway for that. And I love the name The Mountains We Climb. It's so true.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Thank you. All of that will go in the show notes, by the way, for our listeners' purposes. And I do like to wrap up with kind of this thought of if you could wrap your arms around our listeners, pour some love over them. If they heard nothing else that you said today, what do you hope and pray that they take away?
I hope that your listeners would learn from our conversation today that here we are, just two imperfect people who are out trying to make the world better using our life experience and our knowledge. I hope that if they're in a place where they aren't where we are, that they know they can get here. That there's resources, there's people that can help them. There's that resilience can be found and taught, and that if you're in a hard place right now, it's not going to be forever. Like it will pass, and you can move on and be powerful no matter what your life experience is.
So good. So good. Thank you, Aimee. You're amazing.
Thank you very much. This was awesome.